So good day everyone. We are here to present our short summary of for this lesson 4, which is Marxism. By the way, I am Gruyal Kristine KL together with Cañal Nathaniel and Miss Sarim Laica. So next slide please. Okay. So the new language is the result of negotiation between dominant and subordinate cultures. A language marked by both resistance and incorporation, that is, not a language imposed from above, nor a language which spontaneously had arisen from below, but a language that is the result of hegemonic struggle between two language cultures, a dominant language culture and subordinate language cultures, involving both resistance and incorporation. Instead of this and other approaches, hegemony theory allows us to think of popular culture as negotiated mix of what is both from above and from below, both commercial and authentic, a shifting balance of forces between resistance and incorporation. The base consists of combination of the forces of production and the relations of production. Hegemony is never simply power imposed from above. It is always the result of negotiations between dominant and subordinate groups, a process marked by both resistance and incorporation. The superstructure, which develops in conjunction with a specific mode of production, consists of institutions like political, legal, educational, cultural, and etc., and definite forms of social consciousness generated by these institutions. The first definition, which overlaps in some ways with the second, is the claim that ideology, a system with its own logic and rigor of representations. This can be images, myths, ideas, or concepts. Is a practice through which men and women live the relation to the real conditions of existence. So classical Marxism, Marx argues that each significant period in history is constructed around a particular mode of production. That is, the way in which society is constructed around a particular mode of production. Ito na ikatakad to please. Nalipat ako. So, classical Marxism. Excuse me. So Marx argues that each significant period in history is constructed around a particular mode of production. That is the way in which a society is organized to produce the necessaries of life, such as food, shelter, and etc. It is on the relationship between base and superstructure that the Marxist account of culture rests. This operates what he calls the structure in dominance. That is, although the economic is always ultimately determinant, this is not mean that in a particular history conjuncture it will necessarily be dominant. That would be all about my part. Thank you.
A pleasant day to each and everyone. Once again, I'm Nathaniel C, Cañal, and I'll be continuing the report of Ms. Gruyal. So, until as late as the second part of the 19th century, capitalism's position was still uncertain. It is only in the 21st century that the system seems to have won, or at least to be winning, especially with the political and economic collapse of the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe, and the introduction of the open door policy and market socialism in China. At the heart of this analysis is the claim that how a society produces its means of existence ultimately determines the political, social, and cultural shape of that society and its possible future development. Next slide. That is, each mode of production, besides being different, say, in terms of its basis in agrarian or industrial production, is also different in that it produces particular relations of production. The slave mode produces master or slave relations. The feudal mode produces lord or peasant relations. The capitalist mode produces bourgeois or proletarian relations. These claims is based on certain assumptions about the relationship between base and superstructure. Hegemony is organized by those whom Gramsci designates organic intellectuals. In terms, I sorry, in general terms, each mode of production produces first, specific ways of obtaining the necessaries of life. Second, specific social relationships between workers and those who have controlled the mode of production. And lastly, third, specific social institutions, including cultural ones. In this sense, the concept is used to suggest a society in which, despite oppression and exploitation, there is a high degree of consensus, a large measure of social stability, a society in which subordinate groups and classes appear to actively support and subscribe to values, ideas, objectives, cultural and political meanings, which bind them to and incorporate them into the prevailing structures of power.
So good day once again. I am Laica Sarim, and I'll be the one to report. I'm the last reporter. So popular culture. Popular culture is no longer a history-stopping, imposed culture of political manipulation, nor is it the sign of social decline and decay, the culture and civilization tradition, nor is it something emerging spontaneously from below, nor it is a meaning machine imposing subjectives on passive subjects. So Gramsci tends to speak of organic intellectuals as individuals, but the way the concept has been mobilized in cultural studies following Althusser's barely acknowledged borrowings from Gramsci is in terms of collective organic intellectuals, the so-called ideological state apparatuses of the family, television, the press, education, organized religion, the culture industries, and etc. As Marx explains, the mode of production of material life conditions the social, political, and intellectual life process in general. Each class, as Gramsci explains, creates organically its own intellectuals, one or more strata of intellectuals, which give it homogeneity and an awareness of its function, not only in the economic sphere, but also in the social and political fields. Therefore, as the economic, the historically specific mode of production transforms certain raw materials into products by determinate means of production, involving determinate relations of production. So ideological practice shapes an individual's lived relations to the social formation. The concept of hegemony is used by Gramsci to refer to a condition in process in which a dominant class does not merely rule a society, but leads it through the exercise of intellectual and moral leadership. So I guess that should be all. Thank you everyone for listening. Goodbye.